And we are live. Welcome to our session and to our interview, to our talk with Lydia Pintscher from Wikidata. She's the product manager. And Lydia, I think you can introduce yourself. We are here at Tel Aviv University, and the class is yours. Please go on.
Thank you for inviting me and having me for your class. It's really great to have a Wikidata class. I am the product manager for Wikidata. That means I work with the community, the development team, and other stakeholders to figure out what to do, what to develop, and how to move the project forward. And I prepared a few slides to give you a better impression of where we are now and where Wikidata is going. Let me see if I can share this with you.
אתם מבינים אותה? שומעים אותה מספיק טוב?
Can you see my slides?
Yes, we can. Yes.
All right. So Wikidata is about giving more people more access to more knowledge. And we've done a lot of that over the past 6 years since Wikidata started. And where are we now? What is Wikidata? And I wanted to start this by giving you a bit of an overview of what's already being done with the data in Wikidata. We started out to provide data to Wikipedia and the other Wikimedia projects so that they can build these nice info boxes you can see on the right here. And do this across all the different language versions. But this is just a tiny bit of what Wikidata is all about. We also have, for example, an amazing query service where you can ask Wikidata all kinds of questions. And this is a good way to give you some idea of the content that is on Wikidata. So, for example, you can ask Wikidata for the places where Nobel Prize winners were born, and in which decade they got their prize. And then you can see, for example, here, something interesting. People who got their Nobel Prize before 1960 were born in some parts of the world. And then if you look at where they were born after 2000, that looks very different already, and thankfully much more distributed across the world. Or we have data about airports. Here you can see a map about airports across the world that were named after a person. And that whole thing is color-coded by gender. So you can see, again, how different biases shape our world, or if you want to look at it. Or you can ask also kind of silly questions like who was a member of parliament in the UK who has ancestors who are possibly mythical. Or less silly things, where do Disney movies play? Or how long is the average movie by genre and year they were directed? Or spacecraft missions, what are they named after? Or plants that have an emoji, because emojis are obviously very important. Or you can ask stuff like, what's the most gender neutral given name? So where equally many male and female people have that name as a first name. Or what are some fictional items named after? So Rambo, for example, was apparently named after the Rambo apple. Who would have thought? Or you can ask like, which people were born in a place that is named after them today? Or which families have the same occupation for 5 generations? or country flags include a sun. Or if you want to open a file format, which software is likely to be able to open it? Apparently, Mathematica is one of the programs that can open most file formats. Or if you're a user of Reddit, some of the subreddits are about a place on Earth, and we can, with the data that Wikidata has, make a map of all these places that have a subreddit. Or we can go into food and look at food. Like here, a gallery of cheeses and where they're from, what kind of special cheese they are. Or if you're into churches, you can look at churches in specific areas. Or you can look into art, like here, paintings by the painter Vermeer that show the map. Or if you're into nature, you can look at arches, natural arches around the world. Or what was the cause of death of family members of noble families? Or there were seeds that were seeds for trees that were flown around the moon and then brought back to Earth and planted across the United States. And Wikidata has data about where they are now. Oh, one last thing. Which head of state actually has an address number? So how closely are they connected by scientific publications to a famous researcher named Address? Now, these were a lot of examples, but they should give you a good idea of the really very, very different kinds of data that Wikidata has and the very, very different kinds of questions you can ask and visualizations you can make on top of that data. And then I want to show you some examples of applications and websites that are built on top of Wikidata outside Wikimedia. We have, for example, Histropedia, which is a website where you can build a timeline of events for educational purposes, for example.
Lydia, can you wait for just a second?
Yes.
כולם הבנתם מה לידיה בעצם הראתה עד עכשיו? היא הראתה המון סוגים של דוגמאות של סוגי מידע שונים שקיימים בוויקידאטה, בשאילתות שאנחנו יכולים לשאול כדי לקבל תשובות משמעותיות לנתונים, תשובות שפעם לא יכולנו לקבל בלי שיש לנו מאגר כזה מובנה ומסודר, והשוס הגדול, היכולת שלנו לראות ויזואליזציה של התשובות האלה בכל מיני סוגים של גרפים, על מפה, עם תמונות, בטיימליין, כן, על ציר זמן וכולי וכולי. אז יש לזה הרבה מאוד משמעות, בין היתר, כי זה עוזר לנו, ברגע שאנחנו פתאום שמים על מפה דברים, זה עוזר לנו לראות knowledge gaps, זה עוזר לנו לראות איפה חסר לנו מידע, איפה יש פערים, איפה יש bias, איפה יש הטיות של מידע וכולי וכולי.
אז זה זמין באמת כבר לכל אחד.
כן, ואנחנו במהלך הקורס, ממש בשיעור הבא שלנו על ויקידאטה, נלמד בפעם הראשונה איך לעשות queries, איך לשאול את השאלות האלה בעצמנו, ואיך לגשת בעצם, להיות מסוגלים לגשת לנתונים האלה. לא רק איך להוסיף נתונים, אלא ממש איך למדל אותם, אלא ממש איך אנחנו שואלים שאלות בעצמנו. אז עכשיו לידיה מראה לכם כל מיני אתרים שבעצם לוקחים את המאגר של ויקידאטה, ומשתמשים בהם כבסיס כדי לייצר כל מיני דברים, כי המאגר הזה פתוח לעולם, ואנשים התחילו לעשות כל מיני דברים עם המאגרים האלה, אז בואו נראה את הדוגמאות. לידיה, go on, please.
All right. Okay, and then we can look at some applications and websites that people build on top of Wikimedia. One of them is Histropedia. You can make timelines of historical events and then use it, for example, in a class for education. Or we have WikiGenomes, which is showing you data about genes from Wikidata, which medication they interact with, which illnesses are related to a gene, and so on. So this is very helpful for research into medication and illnesses and genetics. Or we have Uli, that's the Finnish broadcasting agency, and they use Wikidata concepts for tagging. So every concept in the world in Wikidata has an ID. You already saw Q42, for example, for Douglas Adams, and you can use those IDs to tag, for example, newspaper articles, and not worry about which language it is. If it's Finnish, if it's Swedish, if it's English, if it's German, Hebrew, or whatever other language you care about. You just have to worry about Q42, for example. And that's very useful for machine readability. Or we have a tool called Monumental, which is showing you monuments around you, data about those monuments. If there's a picture on Wikimedia Commons, it will show you a picture. And if there's none yet, you can take one and upload it. So if you're a monuments geek, then this is a really nice application for you. Or we have Scholia, which is an application that is about scientific publications. So you can find researchers there and see what kind of papers they published, which topics they published on, which journals they published in, or you can look at a topic and see which famous researchers published on that topic to help you with your research. Or Eurowings. Eurowings is a European airline, and they have an in-flight app that shows you where the plane is. And apparently they are using Wikidata data as well to give you more information about the cities, countries, airports you're flying over. Or we have Quora. Quora is a very much used website that allows you to ask a question and get answers from people. And they let you tag your question so that it's easier to find other questions related to your interest. And they used Wikidata's ontology, so the hierarchy of the world, to clean up their own ontology and make it easier for their users to find what they are looking for. So things like Berlin is a city is usually in a country, and Berlin is in the country Germany, and things like that. Or we have Ask Platypus, which is a website where you can ask a natural language question like, who is the director of the movie Her? And then it will give you an answer based on the data that is in Wikidata. Or we have Inventaire. Inventaire is a website where you can register which books you have and you're willing to give away to friends or strangers. And then you can exchange your books, basically. And they use Wikidata to build these little author pages, and they have the same for books, where they have a profile of the author, and most of the data for that profile comes from Wikidata as well. Or Guessr. Guessr is a game where it shows you a picture of a building or a street or something, and then it will show you a map, and you have to guess on the map where that picture was taken. And depending on how close you are to where it actually was taken, you get points. And this is surprisingly hard. I recommend playing it a bit. Or there's Crotos, which is an artwork browser based on Wikidata and Wikimedia Commons, where you can see paintings by your favorite artists or artwork that's displayed in a specific museum. If you're going to a museum, things like that. And there is also something called AgreeList, which registers famous people's opinion on certain topic like climate change, and then you can see, okay, what what have all these famous people said about climate change. And you can filter it by what do people who graduate in Harvard say about climate change? What do people who earn more than a certain amount of money say about climate change and all these things? And the ability to filter those opinions is based on Wikidata data. And last but not least, there's also personal digital assistants like Google Now, Siri, Cortana, Alexa, who are to some degree using Wikidata's data to answer all your fact-based questions. Now, I hope this gave you a bit of an idea of what different kinds of things people are doing with our data in Wikidata. And now for some statistics. Right now, there are 52 million items in Wikidata. So we describe 52 million things in the world, like cities, people, books, scientific papers, plants, animals, all kinds of things. And we're describing these with 5,567 properties. So property could be, for example, height or capital, and things like that. And with that, roughly we know people make statements. So, for example, one statement would be Berlin is the capital of Germany. And right now, about for the 52 million concepts we know about roughly 12 things about each of them on average. So there's still room to improve, but it's getting rather comprehensive. And the most important thing, all of this data is collected and maintained by 20,000 editors who make at least one edit a month to keep Wikidata up to date and growing. And I hope some of you will join as part of your course, because it's a really valuable resource to contribute to. All right. That brings us to where are we going? What's important for Wikidata from now on? And one of the things that we care about a lot, of course, is data quality, right? We want to make sure that we get it right and that Wikidata is up to date. But at the same time, Wikidata must stay open, available to edit by everyone, because if we increase the barrier to contribution too much, then people don't contribute. And that will be very, very sad and bad. So we are looking into many different ways of helping editors keep the data quality high. For example, we've looked at machine learning, a tool called Quora, and it helps you figure out it figures out for you if an edit is likely to be beneficial or not. And then it highlights you some edits that you probably want to look at if you are patrolling recent edits that have been made on Wikidata. And that helps editors be much more efficient in their work and concentrate on the things that really need their attention, as opposed to the millions of edits that are being made on Wikidata. Or we have a tool called constraint checks, which allows for some constraint checks in Wikidata to highlight issues. So for example, here you can see that there's a statement about a German federal election, and there's an issue with what's the statement, because in this particular case, the votes received are given as a percentage, and that is wrong. It should be an absolute number. And this we can automatically detect and highlight to an editor to improve it. Or here, this is a statement on an item about a person, but they are apparently Canadian, but Canada didn't exist when they were alive. So something is wrong here as well. And we can again show that to people to link into it and see where the issue is. On top of that, we're looking into improving the data quality, for example, by comparing Wikidata's data against other databases. Think of a music database, the internet movie database, and so on. And then seeing if the two databases agree. And if they disagree, again, someone needs to look at where's the mistake? Why is there a difference?
Lydia, we have like 5 minutes left to the session, so maybe we can have a bit of questions with you.
Yes.
Okay, so you want to stop the slides? I can, if you send me the slides, I'll upload to the students and they can look at the rest of the examples.
Yes. We can do that.
Yeah, awesome. So let's see you again. And do we have any questions for Lydia? Yes, Udi.
First of all, I want to thank you a lot, Lydia, for reviewing us this very wonderful platform that is Wikidata. From what our lesson had today, I get a very great impression that that this platform would provide a very great and powerful source of data.
Mm-hmm.
However, I find something that that might be a problem in Wikidata compared to other platforms like, say, Wikipedia,
Mm-hmm.
and that is the accessibility of the site in comparison to it. Wikipedia is very simple. You have a very few things that you need to do to learn how to use it. But from my impression, understanding in Wikidata, you need to be an expert in information science to know how to use it well. Do you think that there is any possible way, maybe to, and if you think it is possible, but maybe it's otherwise you want that way, but is it possible to make a site that more accessible, or is it the purpose from the start to make it very complex?
That's a great question.
Not intentionally making it hard to use. But yes, great question. Okay, so you said that Wikipedia is relatively easy. There are people who would disagree with that, but that's okay. What is for sure is that it isn't super easy right now. And that is something we're constantly working on improving with things like the constraint checks that I've shown you to make it easier for normal people to spot a mistake and figure out how to fix it. But there's a lot of work ahead of us on Wikidata itself. The other thing is that not everyone has to come to Wikidata to contribute, right? There are specialized tools for some specialized tasks that people can use. So for example, there's one tool that lets you connect Wikidata items with identifiers in other catalogs. So for example, you can say, okay, Projekt Gutenberg has a profile of Douglas Adams. Wikidata also has a profile of Douglas Adams. Let's connect them with a link, because we know the person they're talking about. And there's a specialized tool that helps you make this task easy. And you don't have to worry about all the other complexity of Wikidata. And I'm
saying that we will learn, they will meet some of the tools that we're using, also for queries, not only for adding information to Wikidata.
Exactly.
But the short answer is we are working on it.
Yes.
I don't want you to get the wrong impression. I'm not about it, but it's just
no,
a simple. Right. I mean, I did just by doing simple searches on Wikipedia. Wikipedia compared to Wikidata, I say I will look for food. On Wikipedia, I get food and the simple information that I want.
Yeah.
On
For that,
Wikidata,
you need
I
a
get
query. You need a query, which I said, that's why I said it's more complex to consume information from Wikidata, because you need to know how to query. But we are working on making queries easy as well.
Exactly.
One last question. We have one more minute if someone has any questions for Lydia. You guys, you have
I think I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's not really connected to the lecture that you just gave us. It's connected to you as the head of it all.
Lydia, you've been assigned the head of it all.
Yes, so my question is, what do you think about this? I think it's the first in the whole world, and the course that we as students are. And what do you think the future of it will be? What do you think about us until now? Maybe it's interesting to know.
מה את שואלת? שוב, אני לא הבנתי.
I'm
asking
just
her what she asked.
asking, what do you think about us? If you think it will have a future to have more courses like we take in the university?
Oh, okay. Lydia?
I think it's awesome, and I hope there will be a lot more in other places in the world, but also in the next years at your university. It's really great because Wikidata can only work if people contribute to it, right? If everyone is just using it, or even worse, ignoring it, it can't work, right? People have to do their share of making it a great project, making it useful for what they want to do with it. You are a great group of people to do that.
Thank you so much. If the students have more questions, I'll send them your way. Cool. And again, thank you from all of us for being with us today. Right? Thank you to Lydia. And I'm going to stop broadcasting. So again, thanks, and we'll see you soon.
See you.
Bye-bye.